Good evening. We'll be just starting in a few seconds. Welcome to our town hall. It's Tuesday, February the 13th, 2024. Welcome to Council Chambers. I'm going to call our meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. and we're going to start with a moment of silent reflection. But before we do that, I'm just going to share with you a few reflections to think about. February is Black History Month, a time to celebrate and honor the diversity, history, and culture of Black Canadians and their many contributions to a thriving and prosperous Canada. It is a time for reflection and learning, and I encourage everyone to do so. So, on that note, please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Moving on to our land acknowledgement. The municipality of Port Hope exists on the lands of the Mississauga Anishinaabe traditional territory covered by the Williams Treaties. We honor and recognize First Peoples as right holders and stewards of the lands and waters on which we have the privilege to live, work, and play, including the Ganaraska Forest and River. We pay respect to elders past, present, and emerging. We commit to actions towards truth and reconciliation by recognizing the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, strengthening ties with First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, especially those who make their home in Port Hope, and learning from Indigenous ways of knowing and being. We do so by recognizing the past and working towards a shared future. Moving on to the disclosure of pecuniary interest, I note that none were received in advance of tonight's meeting. Are there any around the table? Seeing none, item number 3, there is no closed session this evening. We have no business arising from closed session. We're going to move on to announcements, updates, and recognitions. This is always a wonderful moment for this council. So 5.1 is our recognition certificate. Aquatics Canada Aquatique Hall of Fame, Pat McCann. Before I proceed to delivering this in an official way, I want to share a few words. Today, we are excited to celebrate the achievement of our own Port Hope resident, Pat McCann, who has been inducted into the Canadian Aquatic Hall of Fame and whose name has been placed on the Ontario Artistic Swimming Hall of Honor. Pat has been involved in artistic swimming for the last 37 years. Although not a competitive swimmer herself, she started her career as an official in 1987, attaining her Level 1 Judge's Certificate through Synchro Ontario while helping 3 of her daughters swim at the national level. Over the years, she continued to work through her judging and refereeing levels, becoming a Level 4 judge in 1997 and a Level 4 referee in 2003. Pat has volunteered on deck at many national and international meets, including Junior Worlds, World Series World Aquatic Championships, 3 Pan Am Games, 4 Olympic qualification meets, and the 2012 Olympic Games in London and 2016 Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro. Ontario Artistic Swimming says this about Pat. To know Pat is to know her on-deck presence and larger-than-life smile. Many swimmers of all ages have benefited from her comforting words and the way she can put them at ease before they walk out to the platform. Affectionately known as Canada's referee, Pat has touched the lives of thousands of swimmers from coast to coast. Over many years, Pat has been instrumental to our sport, and it is with much admiration and respect that we choose such a well-deserving candidate to be one of this year's Wall of Honor inductees. Pat, on behalf of all of us at the Municipality of Port Hope, Thank you for your tireless efforts for the betterment of the sport and for representing Port Hope on the world stage. Thank you. We are so proud. Congratulations on this very well-deserved honor. And if you could please join me at the horseshoe so that I can present you with an appreciation and a certificate. Moving on to community updates, I have a few community updates that I would like to share. First is around Civic Awards. Nominations are currently being accepted for the Civic Awards with the deadline set for March 7th, 2024. The awards include 9 distinct categories: Outstanding Citizen, Outstanding Youth, Agriculture, Arts and Culture, Athletics, Community Service, Environment, Inspiration, and Philanthropy. So I urge all of you to reflect on individuals within your circles and community who dedicate their time and skills to the advancement of Port Hope. Submit a nomination form to recognize them for their efforts. It's a really important recognition in this community, so please do take the time if you have someone in mind. Moving on to fishing update. Late last week, we released a statement regarding fishing in the Ganaraska River. This statement was crafted in collaboration with the Port Hope Salmon Working Group, an informal group of regulatory and agency partners whose aim it is to provide outreach and to address community concerns related to the salmon and trout fishery in Port Hope through open communication and collaborative solutions. We heard much on this topic during the last season, and many of those concerns and comments were brought forward to this working group. So while February may seem a bit premature to discuss fishing matters, we do want to assure our community and our public that active dialogues and partnerships are ongoing to tackle issues raised by community members. These issues include the buildup of garbage, the accumulation of fish waste along the river and at the fish cleaning station, and notable complaints and concerns from the community about fishing behaviors that have been observed. The working group is dedicated to collaborative efforts that positively impact both the community and its visitors, aiming to improve the fishing experience in Port Hope, but also addressing our community concerns. Updates for the community will be regular and ongoing. And finally, just a quick update from the county. Many of you have been following some of the discussions and consultations around 310 Division Street, which is going to be the place for modern shelter and transition housing for the county. There have been a number of public consultations, meetings, and small group discussions around 310 Division Street. There has been a lot of public interest and public concerns brought forward about this project. Many folks raising issues around garbage and safety and crime and security and parking. I do want to assure the public that these concerns are being heard. On January the 10th at our social services meeting, I put forward a motion to ensure that there's a full thematic analysis done of all the consultations, all of the correspondence around 310 Division Street, and that we do hear voices around how we can move forward with this very important project, but bringing the community along to ensure the success of this endeavor. And there'll be more updates on this as we move along. Now, moving on to item number 6, presentations. 6.1, Angela Grogan, Melissa Fox, Denise Lane Cardinal regarding Black history. I now welcome our presenters for this evening, Angela Grogan, Melissa Fox, and Denise Lane Cardinal, to come forward and to share their presentation with us. The presenters have requested an additional 5 minutes for their presentation, and in accordance with our procedural bylaw, I have granted this request. So I welcome the presenters. Please press the purple button, and we look forward to the presentation.
I hope this is not part of my 15 minutes, okay? Good evening. I'm Angela Grogan of Lakeshore Road. On behalf of the Black community and equity-seeking groups and all residents of Port Hope, it is a privilege to be granted this opportunity to stand here and make this presentation to my community and council as we recognize Black History Month in Port Hope. Madam Mayor, elected councillors, supportive administration and staff, and all residents present. Honorable Dr. Jean Augustine reminds us that Black history is not just for Black people, it is Canadian history. Why, may you ask yourself? Well, because Black history is 365 days a year. But if you look in our schools, penal systems, media, libraries, textbooks, history books, and listen to disparaging ideologies about Black people, why would you care enough for the truthfulness of Black history as Canadian history? Many Black people are ashamed of their heritage, and some might escape by denying that they're Black if they pass for white. Do you know there are also Black Indigenous people? Yes, not represented in Black History Month. February was officially designated Black History Month by the House of Commons of Canada in 1995, and in 1979 in Toronto under Mayor John Sewell. It is a month for Black people to be acknowledged and celebrated. Do you know that was before Canada's national anthem was proclaimed on July 1st, 1990? You see, residents, councillors, and staff, we are trailblazers here in Port Hope by becoming the first municipality in Northumberland to raise and proclaim February as Black History Month. And before the Prime Minister of Canada announced on February 10th that Black history is a mandatory subject in all high schools. On February 1st, 2024, when Mayor Olina announced the raising of the flag and proclaimed Black History Month in Port Hope, it was a new chapter in Canadian history, witnessed by councillors, federal and provincial representatives, and most of all, intergenerational gathering of residents and visitors. The change is here. The Black History Month and the Black History Month flag and the Pride and the LGBTQ+2Q flag are symbols of our collective human rights, responsibilities to care, respect, and listen to the voices that are still suffering oppression and discrimination. Is there any amongst us here and in the community that feel displaying the Black History Month flag and a proclamation are not important? It is another long overdue chapter in Canadian history. Symbols matter. I understand some may be uncomfortable with change, but like the weather, no one can stop change. Black people has been here since the mid-1800s and will continue to call Port Hope home, along with many other diverse groups of people striving to live in harmony. Council, it is your responsibility to get educated, become familiar, and display acceptance of our growing diverse population, to implement strategies that will build a diverse, equitable, and inclusion action plans to uplift all people in our community. Many of the changes, inventions, innovations, and contributions of Black people are unknown and met sometimes with unbelievable comments like, "I didn't know that," or "You sure?" Often told in other voices, misinterpreted, ignored, and omitted from our history books. We as Black people endure many challenges, and still we rise to continue to make significant contributions that are ignored or marginalized. Black resistance has become the catalyst to encourage fresh voices from a variety of backgrounds and other equity-seeking people. Only then will our excellence be sustained and our future be promising. The systematic oppressors will never acknowledge that Black people are law-abiding citizens who contribute their skills in all disciplines, including inventions and innovations in Canada, beginning with the arrival of the first free slave, Matthew da Costa, in 1600. He was described as a very intelligent man who spoke 7 languages. These attitudes of the oppressor are deep-rooted and have inequitable tendencies that protect and secure boundaries and principles to protect their own character flaws, with the intent to diminish Black people's self-esteem and our excellence, leaving us to doubt the future of our next generations. Our struggles include the need to be respected, to remove systematic barriers and boundaries by others who set limited expectations on our unlimited ambition to choose our way of living and achieving. They often apply labels to us, such as angry, sensitive, and often, "Where are you from?" You know what? We live knowing the discomfort. We must feel to endure with every courageous decision we make to be included and treated fairly. Resistance is our way to tell our own stories, to expose the falseness and hollowness of relationships, stereotypical interactions and reactions, unconscious bias, and language that is used to appease and marginalize our Black existence. Thus, Black resistance continues from slavery until today. We are tired. Some of you will ask, when will this resistance stop, or deny that discrimination exists among our elected officials, residents, and decision makers? Why, we Black people ask? Is it for the sole purpose leaving our generation in a systematic bondage and a feeling of hopelessness? It is those with the power and privilege operating within the judiciary, education, and religious systems, not easily identified by race, that exercise these antiquated oppression by laws, policies, and tradition. Slavery has not ended. It is alive on the shelves and in the basements of tribunals, governing bodies, and government policies, often administered by the keyboard strike and transmitted electronically. You see, my friends, oppression and discrimination are clothed in legality, and the poor and oppressed have no access. I respectfully acknowledge that not all would want change or accommodate change. But the writer Toni Morrison reminds us, If we are no longer wrapped by bondage to a person or a way of life, tell your story and refrain someone. Not everyone will be glad you did it. Do you know that the $10 Canadian bill you have in your purse, I hope you have one, and it's in circulation, is a tool of excellence and resistance? Meet Viola Davis, a resistor, a woman of excellence. Viola is why Black history is Canadian history. Viola, one of the many female Canadians of Black resistors, she was one of the very new Canadians of Black resistance who was named a National Historic Person in 2018. A woman born July 6, 1914, arrested November 8, 1946, at age 32 for refusing to comply with a 1923 Amusement Act. She was fined and convicted for refusing to comply with a discrimination law. Viola died February 7, 1965, at the age of 50. And in my opinion, she died in exile. She was granted a free pardon in 2010, which deemed that no offense was committed on November 8, 1946. Justice delayed is not justice denied. However, it was not until 2021, less than 3 years ago, that the government of Canada repaid her estate in the form of a scholarship of $1,000, today's value of the $26 fine. They apologized for prosecuting her for tax evasion and acknowledged that she was rightfully resisting racial discrimination. In the late 2018, Viola became the only Canadian-born woman to appear alone on a $10 bill. Port Hope, this is Black history. This is Canadian history. I'm proud to announce that in Port Hope, I, along with those who don't look like me, are determined to build and continue building a Port Hope rooted in principles of care, respect, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Port Hope, the shift is here. Together we rise and lift our voices.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven rings. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let all rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has borne us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. God of all weary years, God of all silent tears, Thou who hast brought us down thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path, we pray, lest our feet stray from the places, oh God, where we met thee, lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hands, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land, true to our God, true to our native land.
Thank you very much for that extraordinarily educational and moving presentation, and for bringing song to this council and to Town Hall. Thank you very much for that. Does anybody have any questions for our presenters around the table? Yes, Councillor Adam.
Thank you. So I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you so much for coming out and doing this presentation. We've talked before, Angela. I think you do a fantastic job. I love the fact that you put all this together. Also, beautiful voice. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. The recommended action identified on the agenda is to receive the presentation for information. And here I want to add information and education and awareness. Would a member of council like to move this item for these purposes? Moved by Councillor Less, seconded by Councillor Adam. All in favor? Unanimously supported. Thank you again. Moving on to item number 7, deputations. Tonight we have no deputations, but just remember, deputations may only be made on a matter that is on the council agenda. And in accordance to our new procedural bylaw, deputations are taking the place of question period at council. This is an opportunity for the public to express their views, concerns, and/or suggestions before council makes any decisions on related matters. You must register for a deputation in advance of the council meeting, but you can do so up to a day before our council meeting takes place. Please visit the municipal website for more information or contact our clerk directly with any questions that you might have. Moving on to item 8, correspondence. 8.1, Port Hope Public Library regarding appointment to the Public Library Board. This is one piece of correspondence, and can I please get the clerk to introduce this matter?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This correspondence is here for council's consideration. As you are aware, we've been going through the recruitment process for the advisory committees, which is in line with the appointment policy. The appointment policy is only for advisory committees, and the library board is outside of the purview of that. As such, they have gone through, they had a vacancy on their board, and they've gone through the recruitment process, and they are presenting this person for council's consideration and appointment.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mink, did you want to add anything to what the clerk had shared?
Well, sure, there's not very much to add. We had 3 applicants and that we interviewed, and they were all great candidates. And we had a very difficult time choosing, and this is the choice that we made. That's all.
Thank you for that. So the recommended action is listed on the agenda. Can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Mink, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? And that is passed unanimously. It's hard when 2 hands go up at the same time. Moving on to item number 9, the consent agenda adoption of minutes. Items listed under the consent agenda are considered collectively as one motion. Council members may request that specific items be removed for separate discussion, deliberation, and action. The consent items are listed on the agenda. Would any member of council like to remove any of these items for separate discussion this evening? Seeing none, can I please get a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Todd, seconded by Councillor Less. All in favor? And that item is carried unanimously. Moving on to item number 10, consent agenda advisory committee and board meetings. Would any member of council like to remove any of these items for separate discussion? Seeing none, can I get a mover and seconder to receive these items for information? Moved by Councillor Mink, seconded by Councillor Adam. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Moving on to item 11, items for consideration. 11.1, report CS 0224, re-declare council seat vacant. We have 2 items for consideration on the agenda tonight, and the first is in fact this council vacancy. So is there anything else that the staff wants to add before we consider this particular report?
No, Madam Chair, nothing more to add. This is the first step and is in accordance with the Municipal Act. The first step in filling this vacancy is to declare the council seat vacant, which is what which is what the report is presenting to you today.
So can I get a mover and seconder on this particular report? Moved by Councillor Adam, seconded by Councillor Less. All in favor? That is passed unanimously. And, just as a reminder to ensure that we have consistent and clear communication around the process, within 60 days of declaring a seat vacant, this council has the ability to either appoint an individual to fill this vacancy or pass a bylaw declaring a by-election. And on February the 20th, we will be receiving a staff report outlining all of the options, the benefits, the costs, the consequences of all of these, at which point we will be deliberating on the next steps in the process. Moving on then to item 11.2, report PS 0524, re-Transport Canada Rail Safety Program Grant Agreement. Does staff have anything that they would like to add before we consider this report?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick update. On January 9, 2024, I brought forward report 0324 for protective services regarding the successful award of the Rail Safety Engagement Grant to the municipality of Port Hope, which was brought forward to the Committee of Whole for your consideration and was received by Council as information on January 23rd, 2024. On February 6th of this year, Transport Canada advised staff in order to release the grant funding, they required council resolution to accept the funds and authorize staff to execute the agreement on behalf of the municipality. Due to the time-sensitive nature of this execution of this agreement, and as council has already been appraised of this endeavor through the previous report, staff are bringing this report directly to council for consideration.
Thank you very much for that update. Is there anything else that anybody would like to ask or comment on? Okay, so the recommended action is in fact listed on the agenda. So can I ask for a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Mink, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? And that is passed unanimously. Moving on to item number 12, committee reports and recommendations. 12.1, motion from Committee of the Whole meeting, January 30th, 2024, regarding report CS0124 re 2024 to 2027 Advisory Committee appointments, Environmental Advisory Committee, and Civic Awards Advisory Committee. Is there anything further that anybody would like to add before we vote on this matter? Seeing none, the recommended action is listed on the agenda. Can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Todd. All in favor, and that is passed unanimously. Moving on to item 12.2, motion from Committee of the Whole meeting, January 30th, 2024, regarding report FS 0124, Health and Safety Annual Review. Is there anything further that anyone would like to add before we vote on this matter? The recommended action is listed on the agenda, and can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Less, seconded by Councillor Mink. All in favor? And that is passed unanimously. Moving on to 12.3, motion from Committee of the Whole meeting, January 30th, 2024, regarding report FS 0224, Heritage Business Improvement Area 2024 budget. Is there anything further that anyone would like to add before we vote on this matter? Councillor Adam.
Thank you. I forgot to do this earlier, so I'm going to declare pecuniary interest as I am a member of the downtown business.
Okay, thank you for that. Can I get a mover and seconder to vote on this recommended action? And Councillor Adam, do you mind just stepping outside for 1 second? Thank you. Okay. Can I ask for a mover and seconder on this? Moved by Councillor Todd, seconded by Councillor Less. All in favor? That is passed unanimously. Moving on to item 12.4, motion from Committee of the Whole meeting, January 30th, 2024, regarding report PRC 0224 Re 116, Royal Canadian Sea Cadet Corps Skeena Air Rifle Marksmanship Competition bylaw exemption. Is there anything further that anyone would like to add before we vote on this matter? I just had a question about whether or not there's a neutral term for marksmanship. Just a thought that I had in terms of moving towards EDI. There you go. Okay. Is there anything further that anybody would like to add before we vote on this matter? Okay. Can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Less, seconded by Councillor Todd. All in favor? And that is passed unanimously. I think it is worth looking into whether we can find a gender neutral term for that. 12.6, motion from Committee of the Whole meeting, January 30th, 2024, regarding report WE0324, Re 2023 annual performance reports for the Port Hope wastewater treatment plant and sewage collection system. Is there anything further that anybody would like to add before we vote on this matter? Seeing none, can I get a mover and seconder for this? Moved by Councillor Adams, seconded by Councillor Mink. All in favor? And that is passed unanimously. Moving on to item 13, notice of motions. 13.1, Northumberland County Council regarding...
Here?
Oh, sorry.
12.6.
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry, skipped right over. There's so little to read here. Now therefore be resolved that council received the 2023 annual performance reports for the Port Hope wastewater treatment plant and sewage collection systems for information. And that is 12.6, motion from the Committee of the Whole meeting, January 30th, regarding report WE 0324. Is there anything anybody would like to add to this? Nope. Okay. The recommended action is listed on the agenda. And can I ask for a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Less, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, now moving on to item 13. Notice of motions. 13.1, Northumberland County Council regarding the Port Hope Walk-in Clinic. This motion has been included on the agenda requested by me in order to provide notice to the public. In accordance with the procedural bylaw, it will automatically be put over to the next meeting. This motion will be considered at the February 20th, 2024 meeting of the Committee of the Whole. So I'm not going to be reading the notice of motion, but it's there for the record. Moving on to item number 14, bylaws, consent agenda. Bylaws are passed by consent agenda. Before we move forward with that, I understand that Director Williams would like to bring a matter to our attention regarding item 4.5, the traffic parking amendment bylaw.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, just in relation to some administrative amendments that were required to be made to the bylaw, which accompanied the report, which was presented to the Committee of the Whole. After the draft bylaw was presented to the Provincial Offences Courts in Northumberland County, some administrative changes were suggested and were made to the bylaw, which is being proposed to Council tonight for consideration.
Any questions for Director Williams on that update? So it's administrative in nature primarily. Okay, terrific. Would anybody like to remove bylaw for separate consideration or discussion this evening? Seeing none, can I get a mover and seconder to pass the bylaws? Councillor Adam is our mover and our seconder is Councillor Les. All in favor? And that is passed unanimously. Moving on to item number 15, the confirmatory bylaw. It is now time for the confirmatory bylaw. This bylaw confirms that the proceedings that took place this evening and provides for formal adoption through a bylaw. Can I get a mover and seconder on that? Moved by Councillor Mink, seconded by Councillor Adam. All in favor? And that is passed unanimously. This concludes our business to be well, there's no place for it. No. No. Item number 16. This concludes our business to be covered on today's agenda. We've reached the end of our agenda for today, and I'm in a position to adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much for all of you in attendance.